Have you ever wondered, could adult Yuji stop the Shibuya incident? Well, in this timeline, that's exactly what we're about to find out. Our story begins with Yuji fast asleep, but suddenly he opens his eyes and realizes something feels off. The date in front of him reads October 31st, the exact day the Shibuya incident began. Somehow, Yuji has been sent back to the very moment everything started. Now technically, we could have started this timeline with Yuji arriving one day before Shibuya, but if that happened, Yuji would simply warn everyone and stop the entire incident before it even begins. That would make things way too easy. So to make things more interesting, this story begins at the exact same moment the original timeline starts. But before we dive in, there are a couple of important rules to keep in mind. First, Yuji still has all of his memories and powers from the future. He already knows everything that's about to happen. Second, when it comes to Sukuna, we'll assume the situation is the same as it was in the original timeline, meaning Yuji currently has the same number of Sukuna fingers inside him as he did at this point in the story. With that said, let's see what happens when adult Yuji gets a second chance to stop the Shibuya incident. The story begins exactly where Yuji originally stepped into action. The first enemy in his path is the Grasshopper Curse, the same one that once challenged him with its ridiculous questions about intelligence. But this time, things go very differently. Yuji doesn't even bother taking a fighting stance. With both hands casually in his pockets, he steps forward, and in a single instant, the curse is completely obliterated. One slash. Fight over. Yuji immediately realizes something important. He has no time to waste. His main priority is saving Gojo. Without hesitation, he rushes toward the area where Gojo was sealed. But when he finally reaches the location, his heart sinks. According to the official timeline, Gojo was sealed at 9:26 p.m. And the moment Yuji enters Shibuya, the clock reads 9:27 p.m. Even though the Grasshopper Curse was defeated in barely a second, Yuji was already too late. Knowing he can't undo Gojo's sealing now, Yuji focuses on the next objective, making sure no one else gets hurt. Just like in the original timeline, he runs forward and reunites with Megumi, where they encounter Jiro Awasaka. Megumi takes one look at Yuji and casually asks, "Where did you get that new haircut?" Before Yuji can even respond, Awasaka starts speaking, "Hey," but he never finishes the sentence. In the blink of an eye, Awasaka is cut into 1,000 pieces, erased before he can even react. Megumi stands there stunned, trying to process what just happened. "Where did you get that from?" Megumi asks, clearly confused. Yuji shrugs and replies calmly, "I always had it." From there, Yuji moves even faster through the events he remembers. He quickly arrives to help Ino, eliminating the old sorcerer woman and her grandson before they can complete their plans. Because of this, Ino survives. And most importantly, Toji is never resurrected in this timeline. Just like in the original story, Megumi and Yuji were supposed to split up at this point, Megumi staying behind to help Ino while Yuji headed toward the station. But this time, that never happens. Instead, Yuji, Megumi, and Ino move together, heading deeper into Shibuya. Soon enough, they encounter Choso. But unlike before, Yuji has no intention of fighting him. Instead, Yuji calmly tells him the truth, that Choso is actually his older brother. Naturally, Megumi and Ino are standing there completely confused, wondering what kind of conversation this even is. But as Yuji explains everything, something begins to happen inside Choso's mind. Fragments of memories start flooding back, the same strange memories he experienced in the original timeline. And then the realization hits him. Yuji really is his brother. With that misunderstanding resolved, the group immediately moves toward their next target, helping Maki against Dagon. By the time they reach the battlefield, Dagon has already activated his domain expansion. However, with Megumi present, they are able to break inside the domain. In the original timeline, this is where Toji Zenin suddenly appeared and completely overwhelmed Dagon. But in this timeline, Yuji takes that role. The moment he steps inside the domain, the fight becomes completely one-sided. Yuji tears through Dagon's attacks, overwhelming the special grade curse with raw power and speed. Instead of struggling like before, Yuji simply bullies Dagon, dominating him from start to finish. And to end it all, Yuji fires off piercing blood, completely finishing the curse. When the domain collapses, Maki and Megumi stand there in shock, barely able to believe what they just witnessed. At the same time, they're relieved. The fight that once pushed them to their limits ended in seconds. But deep down, Megumi can't shake the feeling that something about Yuji is very different. And yes, for the sake of this timeline, we're just going to ignore the fact that Yuji somehow looks 6'3" now. After defeating Dagon, the group quickly regroups with Nanami and Nobara. For a brief moment, it almost feels like things are under control. But that calm doesn't last long, because standing in front of them is Jogo. The moment Yuji sees him, his expression changes completely. Rage begins to boil inside him. Yuji remembers exactly what Jogo did in the original timeline, force-feeding him Sukuna's fingers. which led to Sukuna awakening and causing the horrifying Shibuya massacre. Just seeing Jogo standing there is enough to bring all of that anger back, and Jogo, unaware of what he's dealing with, is still following the exact same plan as before. His goal is simple: feed Yuji 10 fingers and convince Sukuna to join their side. Now for anime-only viewers, you might be thinking, Jogo is insanely strong. How is Yuji supposed to beat him? Well, without spoiling too much, let's just say this. Adult Yuji is on a completely different level. In this timeline, Yuji has lived through decades of battles and experience. He's essentially an 86-year-old Yuji in terms of combat knowledge and power. To put it simply, this version of Yuji might even be capable of fighting both Sukuna and Gojo at the same time. So Jogo picked the worst possible opponent. Back to the scene. Jogo suddenly moves, rushing toward Maki, planning to burn her just like he did in the original timeline. But before the flame can appear, Yuji steps forward and grabs Jogo's arm mid-air. Everything freezes. With his other hand casually pointing toward Jogo's face, Yuji quietly says one word: dismantle. In the next instant, Jogo is cooked, completely shredded before he even realizes what happened. Everyone standing there, Nanami, Nobara, Megumi, and Maki, are just staring in disbelief. What the heck is happening? This is not the Yuji they know. Yuji simply smirks and says, "Don't worry, I'll explain everything later." And right on cue, Haruta appears. But honestly, there's no need to explain what happens next. Let's just say Haruta's luck finally runs out. With those threats gone, Yuji starts thinking about the biggest remaining problem: Mahito. In the original timeline, Mahito caused countless deaths and suffering. Yuji knows that if he lets Mahito roam free again, the damage could be catastrophic. So this time, Yuji decides to handle it alone. He tells Megumi that he needs to take care of something important and leaves the group behind. Soon enough, he finds Mahito, and if you're wondering whether Mahito stands even the slightest chance, sorry, but this fight is completely one-sided. Yuji doesn't even try to end it quickly. Instead, he plays with Mahito, completely overwhelming him. Mahito quickly realizes something terrifying. There is absolutely no way he can win this fight. Panicking, Mahito tries to escape, but Yuji simply slices off his arms and legs, leaving him helpless on the ground. As Yuji slowly walks closer, Mahito looks up in pure fear. Yuji leans down and calmly says, "Remember the name, Yuji Itadori," and then, Black Flash. Yuji slams Mahito's face straight into the ground. This is the first moment in the entire incident where Yuji actually puts a bit of effort into the fight. But before Yuji can finish things completely, two new figures arrive, Kenjaku and Uraume. At the same time, Megumi and the others also catch up to Yuji. Kenjaku, being the genius strategist he is, immediately understands the situation. One look at Yuji is enough for him to realize something terrifying. He cannot win this fight. So instead of fighting, Kenjaku quickly absorbs Mahito, who was barely alive, using cursed spirit manipulation. His plan is simple: escape. But Yuji instantly moves to stop him. Before he can reach Kenjaku, Uraume jumps in his path. Yuji barely even looks at him. "Who the heck do you think you are?" Yuji says coldly. And then, Black Flash. Yuji slams a devastating punch directly into Uraume's face, launching him over 10 kilometers away in a single hit. Now there's only one enemy left: Kenjaku. All the other sorcerers watching this unfold are completely stunned. Who is this monster? This can't be the Yuji we know. Kenjaku desperately tries to escape with the prison realm. But just as he's about to vanish, Yuji calmly says, "Domain expansion." Kenjaku freezes. Yuji has a domain expansion? Kenjaku tries to fight back, but it's completely useless. Inside the domain, adult Yuji is unstoppable. Yuji begins spamming black flashes, landing blow after blow without giving Kenjaku even a second to breathe. And to finish it all, Yuji unleashes a massive dismantle, cutting Kenjaku down for good. The battlefield finally falls silent. Yuji calmly walks forward and picks up the prison realm. At this point, the timeline almost looks perfect. Yuji managed to defeat every major villain involved in the Shibuya incident. Mahito is gone. Jogo is gone. Kenjaku is defeated. Even Uraume was completely taken out of the fight. Most importantly, the Shibuya massacre never happens in this timeline. In the original story, thousands of innocent people lost their lives and countless sorcerers were severely injured. But this time, because of Yuji's knowledge and overwhelming power, almost every disaster was prevented before it could even begin. Nanami survives. Nobara survives. Maki survives. Megumi never faces the trauma he went through in the original timeline. Compared to the horrifying chaos we saw before, this version of Shibuya feels almost like the best possible outcome. It truly feels like Yuji saved everyone, but there is still one very important problem left. And if you've been paying attention, you probably already know who it is. Gojo Satoru. Even though Yuji defeated the villains and prevented the massacre, Gojo is still trapped inside the prison realm, and at first, this might not sound like a huge issue. Some of you might be thinking, well, they'll just unseal Gojo the same way they did in the original timeline. But the situation here is actually far more complicated. In the original story, Gojo was finally freed with the help of a sorcerer known as Angel. Angel possessed a very rare ability that could extinguish cursed techniques, which made it possible to break the seal of the prison realm. However, there's a major catch. Angel only appears because of the culling game. And in this timeline, Kenjaku is already dead. That means the entire culling game would never happen. No culling game means no reincarnated sorcerers, which means Angel never appears. And without Angel, there is no known way to open the prison realm. So ironically, even though Yuji saved nearly everyone and stopped the Shibuya disaster, Gojo would remain sealed forever, which means this timeline still isn't truly perfect. So to fix this problem, we need to slightly adjust one small moment earlier in the story. When Kenjaku was trying to escape from Yuji, instead of simply running away, he decides to activate the culling game right then and there as a desperate last move. And surprisingly, Yuji allows it to happen. Because remember, this is adult Yuji. He already knows the future. He understands that the only way to eventually free Gojo is through the chain of events that leads them to Angel. So Kenjaku activates the culling game in his final moments, setting the process in motion. After that, the rest of the battle plays out the same way we described earlier. Kenjaku is still defeated, Yuji still picks up the prison realm, and the sorcerers move forward knowing that the culling game has already begun. As time passes, the sorcerers eventually locate Angel, just like in the original timeline. Angel uses her cursed technique to extinguish the seal. The prison realm finally opens, and at long last, Gojo Satoru returns. Now think about this timeline for a moment. Gojo is alive and free, the Shibuya massacre never happened, Nanami survives, Nobara survives. The strongest villains were eliminated early. In other words, this might actually be the best possible outcome for the Jujutsu world. And that finally answers the question we started this video with. Could adult Yuji stop the Shibuya incident? The answer is yes. Not only could he stop it, he could completely rewrite it. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this what-if scenario and want to see more alternate timelines like this, make sure to support the channel. And to everyone who has already subscribed and supported the videos, thank you so much. This channel isn't just mine, it's ours, and we're going to grow it together. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you in the next video.